Well, we're back, if that was the start. And I'm very glad that we are, because we couldn't find Greg because he was looking for the Great Pumpkin.
I'm back!
And we found, what patch did we find you in?
A patch? A patch of blue,
I can't even do my
believe
comedy routines with this guy after all these years.
A patch of blue? I don't know.
But we're very thrilled. Who else would we want to have on? Because we couldn't find all the devils, but our good friends from DVC. And we have Mario. We have our mystery guest, who's showing being nameless over here.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Don't
and we have
tell
Austin.
anyone.
Thanks for being a victim or volunteer coming down. You don't know what you got into. But we're going to start off that we had Johannes on here, a professor from RIT, and Greg, of course, had a question he wanted to ask. And I'm going, well, we have actors, theater personnel. Ask them.
Well, I was thinking about the evolution of acting. And so you go from the theater, the stage, from the 1800s or whatever, before that, Shakespeare or whatever.
Greece.
And you go, and then it drifted into radio. And then radio drifted into film drifted into television. And you start thinking about, okay, how do all these actors make these transitions? Like a radio person didn't always translate to film, or, they might not have had the looks, or they had a great voice, but the demeanor's different, the acting's different. I was just curious about what the thought was on the evolution of acting and the different techniques and skills that you need to do the different mediums.
Well, let's have the person who does the least acting start to answer that question for you, and then I'll give it over to people who might know what they're talking about. First, we are aware when we are on stage that there's thousands of years of history behind theater and the art of storytelling, and essentially as modernization has occurred, and we've been transforming over the generations as different mediums, but even radio at this point is just a blip, right, on the radar of humanity as far as storytelling is concerned, because that's going back thousands and thousands of years. And theater as the structure as we know it has foundations in Greece, and the productions that they put on that were both political leaning and entertaining, etc.
Right.
But obviously even further back than that, you go all the way back to the beginning of time. People are telling stories, and
around the campfire and whatnot.
That's what we're and that's what we're doing on the stage, is telling those stories in a way that people heard them that long ago. And while film and TV and various other mediums obviously accomplish that task in a way that well, for one thing, they can get their message out to many, many more people much quicker. And that's a good thing.
It's also a bigger effort, too. You've got all kinds of people involved in films and, technicians and stage hands and
Yep.
people that make sets and all that stuff.
Right, of course, yeah. It's much become quite a grand scale when you have 8 minutes worth of movie credits rolling by at the end of a film, so you can see how many people are involved in that process.
I watched the whole credits of the movie Frankenstein, and there were so many people working on that, and you can tell because the level of detail and immersion, like, to go to the places that a lot of films go, you need that sort of group effort.
Yeah. Did you just to stay with that for a second, did you watch the other little thing that went with that?
Yes, the 45-minute behind the scenes.
Yeah, he went as
incredible.
practical as he could, right?
And everyone was in on it.
Yeah.
Set designer, costume designer, working together to coordinate colors and music, and it's all part of the story. And so you either, in terms of acting, adapt and get with the medium and collaborate, or you sort of get left.
Right. The guy had a vision, and he's probably telling these actors, okay, you're going to dress like this, and you're probably thinking, well, I wouldn't dress like that in that era, but he had his plan,
What about the
anyway, go ahead.
The actual filming experience? I don't know. Actor people who are on stage in a variety of different functions. I don't know.
What a
film acting's definitely different.
Yeah, I haven't done a ton of film, especially not since like my college film class, but it is completely different. completely different feeling. You get the chance to do things over again, which in theater you don't as much as you might like to.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking about mainly like the big film stars that drifted to television because TV was faster. And, every time I read about these things, they're like, oh yeah, well, we were doing, 2 shows a week and this kind of, and there's not as much rehearsal and things like that. So I just, it had to be it's a big, you have to adapt or don't do it, I guess.
Adapt or die, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll take a more optimistic take. I think all of those forms of mediums, though new forms of media have come out, they're all still around. There's still great radio hosts. There's still great stage actors. There's still great, in all of these forms of art. So I think that there's a way to use your voice or your skills or your talents to push the medium forward. And you don't have to necessarily jump to the next big thing and chase that trend.
There's room for everybody.
Yeah, you find the one that works for you and you stick with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I would recommend whenever there's time, which means probably 2030 maybe, that read Patrick Stewart's book. And the fascinating part about it is I almost didn't want to read it when it got to Star Trek. He just loved the theater so much. The theater stories are incredible. And that's really good. But this is not a sequel to Johannes. He'll be back.
Thank you. That answered my question. That was good. I needed that. I can sleep now.
This is not what's coming up next week. The latest DVC masterpiece is not a sequel to the last one. It's in the same universe, maybe, if you want to explain about it a little.
It's definitely a continuation of the story. We talk about having this sort of DVC theatrical universe in which all of our original works sort of interact with each other, or at the very least exist in the same universe as each other. So in this case, it's very much that idea because we're returning to characters from our 2023 production called All the Devils. And so, in fact, this production called As Flies to Wanton Boys and All the Devil's Tale indicates that it is a continuation of that. Like it's the second book in the series, I guess, in our book series. So it is when we concluded that storyline, the group of our 5 investigators, the Scooby Gang, had been assembled, and somehow had all survived the events. These supernatural events that they found themselves in. And so this is a little bit of a time jump forward, somewhere between 1.5 years to 2 years, depending on which character you ask. And we see we kind of drop into their lives, where they are right now, what they've been doing. And really what they've been doing is traveling around the world, trying to investigate and interfere in some sort of to prevent the world from experiencing these cosmic horrors that are being unleashed upon them. And so we kind of get to see them now having a little more experience, and the fact that one of the characters, Hob, now has this power to detect or sense when these forces when and where these forces exist. And so this is our group of adventurers. And that's who we have with us today is 2 of the 5 of those group of adventurers. Alexus, Maxim, and Austin Scott.
Sorry, Alexis.
That's all right.
I revealed it.
I said call me whatever you want. I guess you can use my real name.
We're playing Zelda and Arthur in the show.
Yeah, and thanks for that, too, because I was looking at my ticket on my email, and I go, I'm not saying this title, I'm going to mess it up. I just know my limitations. You didn't get rid of all the evil in the world because the podcast is on and bigger than ever, but you tried. You're here. At least we're friendly to you, though. Now, can you talk a little bit about because I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name either, the writer.
Oh, S.G. Rathaft?
Yeah.
Yep. So I have a direct connection to Rathaft is very reclusive, and she's put together these pieces that are very Lovecraftian is a word that's used a lot, but clearly the idea of cosmic horror and the setting, which is the 1920s, right? We're in 1925 in the play. That certainly very much has a sort of tone and a style that H.P. Lovecraft is sort of regarded as like the maybe most popular writer or successful writer of this bizarre genre. Well, without giving out too much detail about Rathhalf's life, it is definitely an intention to embrace that style, the time period and the idea behind it, but there are definitely some differences in the way it approaches. Lovecraft had a very limited view with the whole misogyny and racism and all that stuff. And that's always tricky too, because you go back and go, well, of course he lived in the 1920s, and anybody in 1920 largely would, have some mentalities that probably needed to shift. But Lovecraft was particularly limited. And so, as we're exploring his ideologies, his style, we want to transform that ideology. And so, and other works, there's a book called Lovecraft Country that did that. There's a TV series called Lovecraft Country based on the book that did that in an even more, detailed manner. The idea of how do we keep these concepts and ideas, and these stories. But I think there's hopefully some significant differences. One, in the way that, this world is inclusive and explores the way in which the world of 1920s is not inclusive. And also focuses a little bit more on the concept that while there are these horrors out there that are, waiting to be, to come to life and to unleash terror upon the world, it's pretty clear through the first piece and in this one, that one of the thematic ideas is that humans really are the most horrific of all things, and it's through their own actions that a lot of these things happen. And so that's the all the devils quote, by the way, from that first one, Shakespeare's quote, that hell is empty, all the devils are here. To look for some sort of cosmic horror to destroy the world. We're doing a good job of destroying it on our own.
That's why I always support Cthulhu for president. I put the means of their, get their. I always think William Hope Hobbes's House on the Borderland would be the first cosmic horror, but he's less well known. And that's a question I always, for just guess my personal views about a problematic artists, writers, and I just read a book on J.D. Salinger. I didn't know a lot about him, and what I know is, well, it makes, okay, but I think it's your own personal choice in a lot of ways, and it's sometimes, I have a line with some where I just can't, like a Gary Glitter, for example, but you could really love the work, and I always go, damn it, like with Neil Gaiman recently, I love his stuff, but I have to separate this, and it's everybody's own choice, I think.
Well, right. Unfortunately, people are terrible. And if you dig deeply into, I don't know what movies you're going to be watching or books you're going to be reading, or sports teams you're going to be rooting for. But you're right. It has to be at a level of what is I don't want to use the word acceptable, but where the comfort level is as far as going to an art gallery and appreciating the paintings that were created and also acknowledging who the artist was. Yeah. But I think that's the step, though, acknowledging that. If you go through with the idea of saying, like, we understand that, Lovecraft expressed racist ideals and frequently spoke in public. I mean, he was kind of reclusive, but did often, publish pieces that clearly can either outright state or be interpreted, all as such. All of his protagonists are these, sort of the white male protagonist who, in his own world of madness, as everything around him is being destroyed by everything that's not him, everything that's not his white maleness. So those things exist and need to be acknowledged. But then there's the idea of how do we still appreciate the art. But if other people have views on that, I'd love to hear that too.
I think the most important thing is to, as you kind of alluded to, is to contextualize everything and make that information available to people so that they can make their own choices to whether or not to support the artist. I don't think there's a way to make a blanket statement for all people as to whether or not they should support someone for XYZ reasons. But I think that the information should be available, the context should be there so that people know and can make an informed decision.
Do you think that possibly when authors have these racist type viewpoints and put people in these situations. Do you think that possibly they're trying to hold a mirror up so when people watch it, they're going to be like, "Oh wow, we shouldn't be like that"?
I don't think Lovecraft does.
I do think Mark Twain was doing that. I do think John Steinbeck was doing that. I don't think Lovecraft was doing that.
That actually brings up a good point. Back in my old Toad days, I knew a lot of Brits. And I had this long conversation because he's talking about Huckleberry Finn, and there's a certain word used.
Yeah.
And I said that he was doing it ironically. This is the most noble character in the book, Jim. And that he's trying to hold the mirror up like that.
As a person who's taught Huckleberry Finn a number of times.
Oh, no.
Did we read it? Austin, when you were doing the IB program, did we read a Huckleberry Finn or did that?
I think they might have removed it.
Okay. It's interesting because they've tried to do a couple different things with it. One, they've tried to remove that word and replace it with something else, which also met with an interesting statement because then you're like, are you trying to we're making it more available to people, right? Appropriate for people, but at the same time, then you're also kind of denying the history of it. But right. I did mention Mark Twain. Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is as close to, anti-racist, anti-slavery as you're going to get for a book that was written in the 1800s. Huck Finn himself, obviously, and Jim become best friends, and when Jim is recaptured, Huck says that he recognizes that by trying to save Jim, he's going to go to hell, because that's what the Bible has told him. That's what everybody has told him. And he says, but Jim's my friend, so if I have to go to hell to try to help him out, I'm going to. And I do think that there is attempts throughout the book to show Jim as a well-rounded individual. He's a character with skills, and flaws, good and bad qualities, but that's an example of where we look at a piece of literature and say, if the message is important and holds, but do we need to present it in a different way for a modern audience? And the answer to that question is complicated.
Yeah,
so.
See, that's all. But I always love when you're on, too, because usually we have musicians, and the deepest we get is, I was on tour, and we had to pull over because I was drunk and I had a puke. So we just got the deep stuff.
Fascinating.
They come to the show, the metal guys come, we have to do it at 3, and they open the van, and a bunch of empty beer cans fall out. So we actually have good conversations here. I want to talk about now, for this universe play, should people know a little bit about the last one? Because I forgot it already for the most part, except Lovecraft. Is there going to be a little bit of extrapolation of what went on, or is this whole new?
It was written with the intention of making sure that even if you knew the other show really well, you would still not know what was going on when the show started.
Well, that's great for me, because I go to all these and my brain fogs, and is that the one with the Rubik's Cube and the Cthulhu mask?
Different Cthulhu. Yeah.
The program definitely contains a brief summary of the events that have transpired before. I'd like to think that the script holds a lot of interesting points in it that we've brought out. We've obviously looked at the script and thought about the idea of continuing the story in as much detail as we'd be rewarding as possible. But it is intended to be a self-contained story. It's actually The Empire Strikes Back, if that helps.
Who gets frozen in carbonite?
I will not tell you.
Come to the show.
It definitely happens.
Now, I wanted also, in terms of, now you're playing, you played the characters before.
Yeah.
I was there, but it's me, so it's me. Now, how do you approach when you go, okay, I played so-and-so, and okay, now it's a year later, so how have I grown? Does it take on an organic feel about the character take a life of their own, about how, okay, now, I think maybe this, but no, the character's telling me it's over here, or does he just tell you?
You want to? I'll take it.
You can start, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I play Arthur Royce, who is a scientist, and in the first play, he's not really, I wouldn't say he's friends with everybody. He kind of is roped into this just by nature of his profession, which is fine. But then the second go around, it's been either 1.5 or 2 years, depending on who you ask. You get to a point where he's interacted with these people, he's traveled the world with them, and now he's starting to open up. And so this is a fun part of returning to this character, is that now, as before I was playing just kind of like a profession, a scientist, now I get to play a scientist who has feelings and has grown and has shared time with these other characters, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah, Arthur was the last character to join. They discovered him in Act 2 last time, so he had the least amount of time to sort of develop in the character in that way. And so I've actually really enjoyed watching Austin embrace what is hopefully everyone will see as some interesting development on Arthur's part. I think that's a question the other character can answer too.
I think it's really interesting because a lot of times when you do a piece of theater, you don't get to go back to that character at a different point in their life. You get just this sort of one glimpse of them, and you're left for the rest of your life wondering, like, damn, what happens or what could have happened? What did that experience do to that character? Especially in terms of All the Devils, discovering the existence of cosmic horror. What would that change, or what would that not change? Where is that character stuck after that realization? Like, what kind of changes are there still yet to make from having had this terrifying realization that the world is not what you thought it was? Like, can you ever take anything seriously again? Or do you have to just sort of keep moving as if it matters? So that was interesting to sort of see where my character Zelda is at compared to where she was, and if and how she could change.
And that was, Zelda has there's also some interactions with other characters too. Drew, who was played by Adriana Allen, was returning to that role. At the end of All the Devils, if you may recall, Zelda was responsible for either saving the world or shooting one of the main character's sisters in the head.
It's actually both. She did both of those things simultaneously.
As a result of those actions, that's changed the relationship, particularly with the on-again, off-again relationship with Drew. And we kind of jump back in and see where that is, which is not a place where it was left at the end of episode 1. So that's fun, too. We get to explore relationships. This is what makes it more TV. The one thing I like about the different mediums, that TV can embrace is the character arc, the transformation, the seasonal, traveling from one place to another place and where we get to and how. And while film does amazing things, that's one thing it can't do particularly well because of the limitations of time and release dates and need to have an explosion every 8.5 minutes or whatever it is.
8.43.
Yeah. As a scientist.
That's actually Arthur's job.
Approximately how far are we from the center of the Earth?
1 AU. Astronomical unit.
Not only is it a challenge, it's educating. I was thinking of the whole, pseudoscience and how people know nothing about most things in reality these days, about the 31 Atlas thing, about how it's like the aliens and stuff, and about how life would change if it was, when you brought that up, even though it's a comet. But also about theater, my friend Ava Sawyer does these Broadway things. I was talking to her afterwards, and I'm going, why are a lot of these tragic? And it's because, you go through hours of investing yourself in a character, and I just thought, well, I don't know. I had this question at the end of Aida, which one ate the other one first? And she's like, you know what? I thought about that too. But I think that's when you're bringing, I think you bring a lot of emotionalism. And I knew, Hedda, I knew the ending.
Yeah.
It was like watching the reactions of the people in the audience. Because I told Heather, have you ever read this before? And I go, I have. Pay attention. But I think you get that payoff at the end. In theater, I think that's another big thing because it's live and we're watching it. We really start investing.
Yeah.
I was like, you saved the world by doing your act. I'm convinced. So I was on that side. It wasn't a person.
With All the Devils?
Yeah.
Because I think Alexus also played a character that saved the world by shooting someone through the head.
It's your niche. I love it.
Save the world from herself.
That's a weird niche to be into.
Yeah, it is. It is a very weird thing. I end up playing characters who killed.
Oh, well, maybe we're going for coffee in a couple of years. Maybe I'll pass. Something I want to bring out, too, doing this all these years in, local music theater, it really hits me. I don't think people really appreciate it. Even before the show, you got to do this stuff in the rain today. All the work you put into this, and people... That's why I really support this. I hope a lot of people do. And I wonder, where is that, if you're making millions, you're not sharing it with us on the show.
Yeah.
What is that passion? Where did it originally hit you, and where do you get this passion for this stuff? Like, and how did you get into it? And like, Alexis, how did you get into it? I found you on YouTube by accident one time. I was like,
oh my
God. I was
God.
Googling Macbeth, and it came up for like,
Yeah.
wait a second, I know her.
That video is actually widely quoted in my friend group because
I just saw it by
I was
accident.
talking about
I texted MJ about it.
God.
Wait, is that Alexis?
the moment that everything comes together, and I went, it's the moment. And so now every so often my friends will just go, it's the moment.
But I find like talking to like artists, because I'm more like a polymath. I like to have my fingers in everything. I was just on a podcast talking about comic books. You'd be shocked at that, right?
Oh yeah.
But when did it hit you? Because you really, to do this kind of thing, I don't think you can do it without a passion to do it.
Unfortunately, I have a sibling.
I don't know.
MJ Savastano, who, while I was delving into my following my path to education, was pursuing the arts and theater, and so there was intertwining of that back and forth throughout our adult lives, and we, of course, now, MJ forms the other half of the Sav Sibs. So when you talk about the passion to do the things, DVC is very collaborative. People do multiple stuff, so nobody's like, oh, I'm playing a character, so I can't, build this set right now. In fact, you actually have to, right? So, like, MJ is, co-directing the show, and playing Hob, and costume designing, and we did the light scheme yesterday. So, I mean, it's just, the layers of involvement, which obviously is very different in a professional setting where, a person's, there's 6 people that do wigs on a film set or whatever, right? So you have to become at least relatively competent in a multitude of areas. And that's very much what DVC is, has kind of always been and still continues to be. And so, that sort of just I pursued it because it was an after-school club at my school that I created. And so 2 decades plus later, the love for that, telling those stories in whatever form that takes is there with me.
I was one of the students in the after-school club. Was it 20 years ago?
Well, you weren't there in year 1, Austin, to be fair.
That's true. But I've been around for a long time. When I first joined DVC, I actually had no interest in acting. I wanted to do the light board. I wanted to paint sets and stuff. But then I got thrown into a show, and then the bug bit me from there. So I basically did that through college. Not so much scripted theater in college, though I did do some. I transitioned into improv theater, improvisational theater, which is what I do, not full time, but it's kind of the main avenue I take into the theater realm, which is very fun for me. So. I guess I still love scripted theater too. I just don't always do it.
I think a lot of it's necessity too. I mean, you can't hire 100 people.
Yeah.
So you have to delegate stuff out.
We can't hire any people.
Right. and I think too, I mean, it gives you own it then. You get way more skin in the game, as they say. It's like, okay, I put a lot into this. I helped make this happen. It's not just, okay, it's all built. Now I'm going to just come in and do my lines, So yeah. I think that's good. I mean, like, I know sometimes I have to do sound with the band and I bring all this extra stuff. And, you either want it to get done or you don't want it to get done. Right. So.
Yeah.
Well, you made the foolish decision to become a drummer. I think you sealed your own fate on that.
Yeah. Well,
you got to do the lead singer thing. I see so many bands, they're hauling equipment, hauling the amps. Then the lead singer pops up like 10 minutes before the show starts.
I get all the food at the end though, because it's still there.
Yeah, my big dabbling was with Fisher Players, obviously St. John Fisher, and I did sets. And we had what I would call 12th Night become a comedy of errors, whereas one of those, everything went wrong. And then, with friends in the front row, and they grabbed this bowl, and they're like juggling and trying to make all the actors laugh. But there was like one scene, I felt so bad, it was like a dancing scene. That it wasn't supposed to be, but I guess like the audience just started laughing at it, and the director blew up, and I was just doing this. I'm like, I just do the sets, but I just never could dude, I can't. Number one, my memory stinks. I'd be like, Brando, you have to feed me lines. And I'm actually, you won't believe it, but I'm actually really shy outside of people I know. And I would get up there and it's like Susie's told me, hey, between sets, why don't you do like a comedy act? You're hilarious. I'd go up there, hi. And I found a lot of, and of course, I hate stereotyping anything or generalizing, but a lot of like performers I found, goes arts, any type of arts, especially artists though, painters, they're very, very shy outside of, they can play, wow, this person plays the craziest characters, they gotta be all flamboyant. No, and I found it with drag queens a lot. That's why I always call them superheroes, because if you know them outside of when they're character, they're the shyest people there are.
Well, that's the thing, the character it's a mask.
Is that a way though? It's like, even like, I would say, because I actually told a friend of mine recently, your music helps me like with my mental health. It's sort of like in a way, well, not with your characters if you're doing all that stuff to feed. Actually, that is an outlet, I think.
It is.
But it's sort of like in a way, it's a lot of work, but there's a little like, through like your mental health, you can get like another part of your personality you might have like down here out.
It's a catharsis. You work with what you know and then expand on that and see what parts of you turn into, or what things you know and have experienced could have gone in a certain direction. It's like I don't know, I see it as like facets of a stone. Like you just reflect in a different way depending on what you're trying to hit in a character. I don't know, that's my favorite
I always look
thing
as
about
like
it.
the certain other Samson tries to look for opportunities to make fun of me during the shows, which I always look for.
I mean, that's
it's a running thing for hours, like everything. But now this universe, you think, I'm asking way ahead of time, you think this might be another story coming up down the line for this?
According to the back of the program, you will see at the show. In actuality,
obligated.
Yeah. Yes, I have said several times to the actors they're contractually obligated to go 3 at this point.
We signed in blood.
Much like the movie trilogy, once one reaches a certain level of whatever success means to art, we're like, well, now we've got to go to 3. So, in actuality, this is, I guess, released. This is the first time this has ever been stated in public. So yeah, there is going to be one more story with these characters. And I told you this was Empire Strikes Back, so that's not going to wrap up the everything completely. The plan is next November to revisit these characters in a whole new story one more time. So
it's still a sore point with me because I'm going into Empire Strikes Back. Yes, I'm of that age. I go in, I hear like a friend of mine, oh, my cousin saw it. You know that Darth Vader's Luke's father? Like, thanks.
I mean, at this point, I think that's
now
fair
we
game.
know, though. No, when I was a kid, though, for the original movie.
Right.
Now if you don't know, you're a weird recluse, which is awesome.
If you don't know how to Gabler shoots herself, you're most of the people in the audience. That's only 100 years old, though, so.
Some of us read depressing literature, so we're fine.
DVC has been known to reinvent classic theater, though. Maybe people were thinking it would have ended differently.
It kind of did. She did it on stage.
That's true.
Yeah, but the reaction to that was... But could you go on just a little bit more about, like, the whole ensemble cast for this? Because I know we touched on it a little bit. Like, just for those who are not here for the most part.
Yes.
And how actually, I want to focus more, too, on all your interactions together, like, your personalities on, the characters.
So, I guess I'll kind of go through and talk about who else is in the cast, and then it would be great if you guys would talk about the interactions and the characters. So, the returning characters, we started with our 2 characters, Robert Hatch, Hob, and Jedediah Haas, Jed. Hob is played by MJ Savastano, and Kiyomi Oliver is playing Jed. And, of course, those characters are returning. And I did mention Drew, Adriana Allen, and so that, along with Alexus and Austin, make up those 5 adventurers. And we do have some other returning characters, too. Some characters that were only in one scene last time are returning. So Caleb Wiggins is returning as the character of John in again, far furthering developing that character. There was another character named Gwynny who was also in a different single scene last time, who Najwa Bath Mercado is playing, who is so that character gets developed further. And then we have some people that were in the cast and didn't make it through alive last time. Kevin Chaba played the police officer, and now he's playing a babbling amnesiac, and named Babbling Amnesiac. And who else is returning? We also have some new people. Vince Delba's come in to play a guy who may or may not be a cultist leader. And Joey Chacon. These are all people that have been involved in DVC shows on and off stage for a long time. Joey's playing another party guest, Gottfried Mulder. And we've invited a new character that's coming in. Rebecca Cowan did one other show with us. She was in the Alamo's Last Stand as part of that ridiculously torturous process of the dance ensemble, who is coming in to play the character of Elsa, who is a pretty mysterious character because but she's definitely not a cultist, but anybody else is open. Did I mention the entire cast?
I think so.
I'll definitely throw in another name if you guys talk and I realize there's someone else.
We
have some live music from Michael Grenier, who has done music with us before, and so he is taking all of his experience into the show as a he has many years in theater. He just graduated high school, so and is playing live guitar, and Ong Fio, right, is singing, is our providing live vocals to the show. DVC does like to include live music as a part of the tapestry we are creating. I'm going to pass this over to the actors.
I'll say one thing. I'll sound her up for 1 second. We had the Sky Coasters on who have 1,000 people in the band.
Yeah.
And we really had them struggle at the end because I said, now can you name all the members of your band? They've been around like 60 years. Onward.
I like Babbling Amnesiac, though.
I love Babbling Amnesiacs, and I forgot what I was going to say.
No, but I always enjoy watching credits, cast things like those, Crazy Hooker, or how'd you like to tell your parents, oh yeah, I'm the crazy hooker in that, or
right,
get paid.
Dead bodies.
Right.
One of my first high school roles was man number 2. Music Man.
There you go. I like that.
That was your best role.
Speaking on the interactions between the characters, this is fun especially for Arthur, where before he was a little bit distant to some of the characters. Now he's getting to interact with them, and so he's a little bit faster to respond and faster to make a quip or things like that. So there's a lot of I'll say in general throughout the entire show, all of the dialogue is a lot punchier. There's a lot more back and forth, and that's fun to deal with and fun to watch.
Yeah, as the characters get to have more of a sense of comfort together, it allows for a lot more of the back and forth. And I mean, working with a lot of the same actors that we work with in a lot of other DVC productions too, it's nice, as always, to come back and have that group of people, and we're so collaborative in the process, which is incredible. So everyone is thinking about everything that they do, and we've all got conversations about the characters whenever we're off stage, and we get to have these moments together as we learn more about the characters because it's so supportive and so ensemble driven.
I think the obvious word too, after all the years, that you develop a chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been actually talking, this does not apply to you, but any of you is really good. But I was talking to a friend who's a musician. That's why we're liberal arts majors. But she was saying one of the big things for her as a musician, and maybe Greg could speak on this a little too, is I've had to work with people I just don't like, and having to do that sometime. Mm-hmm. You probably never had that problem.
Well, I mean, some people are just super intelligent and they're hard to deal with.
Hey, stop talking about me on the show, man. I can replace you.
Well, I mean, everybody's laughing because I'm pretty sure everybody knows some of these kind of people. It's like they're so smart and their brains are wired in such a different way. I mean, they're just jumping from one thing to the other, and they make a lot of demands, and they're fussy, and whatever, and it's just, but you have to admire the fact that they're the ones creating, and if they have a tapestry in their head. You know, they see things laid out a certain way.
That's
well, I
the
am
thing.
right
I mean,
here, Greg. Thanks
Austin,
a lot.
so much. It just has so many specific things that he needs in a scene, but the work is so good that we tolerate it.
Right. But you have to appreciate that too, because just do whatever you want isn't going to work. You know.
Yeah. It's the comfort of collaborating with people that you're familiar with and that you can say things to. You can make a statement like, wow, this really isn't where it needs to be right now. Or this is what we, trying to kind of, direct people, guide people in a way, okay, so here is a script, and then we're working off of that, and then there's, how do we want to tell this story, the directors, and by the way, that's interesting because, there's a co-direction thing happening, and Jamie DiGiaco, who is our stage manager, for several DDC shows, has also, this show and the previous one, taken on some responsibilities as assistant directing as well, so, it starts, the three of us sat there and went through and thought, okay, how does this scene need to come to life, and what are we doing with it? And then you bring in on all of the actors, and then obviously you're guiding them, but then they're providing contributions. They say a line completely different than, I perhaps expected, and that did something different, and that something different could have been amazing, and then the scene goes in a different way. Or maybe I go, well, that feels like it's not the character, and then we got to figure out, because there's not like an I'm right or I'm wrong on this, but it is a,
you have to work within a certain...
That's it.
Mm-hmm. You also get a feeling, having done this so much, you work together a lot, that you'll be doing something on a scene and go, I don't know, it's just flat, it just doesn't work, and you're having to do something about it.
Yeah.
I think about that for writing all the time and this and everything.
Have you ever had the experience where it's just like so obvious? Why didn't I think of it that way instead of...
It always feels that way. Every time something clicks, you go, of course.
Yeah, right.
That is this show in a nutshell. Why you think of all the best stuff afterwards.
Unfortunately, that happens to me a lot after the show is already closed.
Yeah.
That's why you do another in the universe.
I do improv comedy, and that happens to me all the time.
Yeah, why didn't I say that?
We talked about how kind of theater, and especially scripted theater, is kind of like we do the play, we have its run, and then that's done, it's gone, it's over. Improv is that, like, scaled up to the maximum, so we strip all the costumes, we strip all the lights, and go very minimal, but we can get through the course of, these character arcs that we're going through. We can explore those night after night after night with all totally different characters and totally different scenarios. There's always times where I'm like, man, I want to do that over, which is why I do the scripted stuff, because it gives me the opportunity to refine, and when I go back to do my improv, I go, oh, I can make a better choice because I have workshopped this choice before in a show.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that with recording. You listen back, oh, man, the second one was better than that one, but the overall thing was the best on that one that you messed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you're like, you got through it, but it could have been better. Mm-hmm. And you always second guess yourself.
I really respect that though, Austin, because that's like that's up here. It's like walking a tightrope. You're putting yourself out there. Mm-hmm. You don't know how people are going to react. Oh, and I think there's another thing too, where there's a vulnerability, and also it's like a theater and everything. I can't get how some people, like artists, how they just really like being vulnerable and putting like with all the emotions and personal stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's why we do any art, is to share an emotion, and so even when we're doing improv comedy, we're still exploring the whole gamut of emotions, happiness, sadness, scare, frightened, so we're exploring all that and we're sharing all that, and I forgot where I was going with the rest of that thought, but I'll remember it.
And that's the problem.
Welcome to the show.
Sometimes
it comes and goes.
As an audience, I can only speak as an audience member in this, but it seems like the level of, I don't know if risk is the right word, in an improv situation. The line between amazingly hilarious and potential disasters is so small.
No, I have one.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, because ultimately, my goal, even though we call it improv comedy, my goal is not to go out there and be funny. My goal is to go out there and improvise a good scene.
Right.
Improvise something that is so good that people come up to me afterwards and go, hey, was that written before? Did you guys do that one before? Right.
Do you ever get an idea, like, from something right before you go on or something? Like somebody says something, or?
I might be, like, if I'm I see there's a Beatles poster here, right? And so if I had a show tonight, I might do a scene where I'm, like, in a band and I'm inspired inspired by that, but
Right,
I'm not
right.
going to do the Beatles. I could never improvise the Beatles.
Gotcha, yeah.
But I
I
could.
think you could.
No, and I
But
think
that's
you
cool,
all,
though.
yeah. I think also you do, like, especially you do have a lot of marginalized characters, because we're all part of that community, basically. And I think you help a lot of people out with your work. I really do. It's like, for me, there's one thing for me is one play about dementia. And I was like saying to Heather, and I'm like, this is really getting to me because of my whole thing with what I had to deal with. But I think, like, people realize, too, there's like, okay, we're speaking for you and what your struggles are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the things we looked at these scripts, from.
Yeah, you don't do, like, Mary Poppins or, like, little, like...
And we didn't do them when it was a high school group either. We did events that are necessary targets and things like that. And people were kind of looking like, what is this? But that's just, DVC's mission has been, first of all, to have a level of affordable theater. So theater that is accessible to as many people as possible. And also to deal with issues that are relevant and contemporary, and sometimes that's bringing Hedda Gabler from 100 years ago into a modern context without, modernizing the show, but exploring the issues through a modern lens. And sometimes it's some original works that, I've put together, or adaptions that MJ has done, or, Shakespeare pieces. That's the first question is, why are we doing this? And it can't ever be like because it's funny or because we really like it or even that, right? It has to be, what is the story we've got to tell right now? Really good stories that have been around a long time can change and grow and evolve with the audience and with the actors and with society. And, this one, obviously this is a brand new show, but I think it explores a time period and a perspective that didn't exist 100 years ago, but it can still show the world of 100 years ago and how that world, how we hopefully view that world now, and the interactions of the characters, and making sure that we have representation is important on and off the stage, as far as having as much a collection of people that can provide different points of view and can have conversations that are going to make things more grounded. I think that's the biggest thing. Going back to Twain and Steinbeck, love those writers. They did amazing things. They still have important messages to tell today. But, the reality was, in that time period, there was a very limited amount of people who could tell the stories. Steinbeck and Twain and these people got to tell their stories because they were men, because they were white, because they were a certain part of society that somebody at least listened to some of those people. And so now how do you keep telling the stories in a way that includes not just one person's perspective on history or situation or the state of the world, but other people. And we're trying to do that. I don't know that you can ever feel completely successful in doing that. I don't really think we'll get to that point, but hopefully you do. And hopefully 50 years from now, people look at DVC stuff and go, wow, those perspectives are a little bit primitive in comparison to what we become now.
I will say, and I'm definitely not going into this because we'll be here for 4 hours. I get really deep of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
And when I'm walking, I really overanalyze it.
Yeah.
And I was going to do a bribe. Well, anybody wants to go for coffee or tea with me, I'll even buy a cookie if you listen to my weird analysis. I'll talk to you about it after the show. You'll be like, go away. But I was thinking about this again. We've talked about a lot of this literature, and it goes through time. We go back to BC, and when you're getting these works, I read Andromache. Probably pronounced the name wrong. The Greek tragedy. And I'm like, yeah, it's a Greek tragedy. It's horrifying as usual. But you get these works. I want to respect the author. I know the time period. Then the challenge is, okay, this has been done millions of times. How do I put a good spin on it, like my own little framework? That's got to be a really big challenge.
It's not just a spin. You find the
That's
part
my
of it
word
that
for
endures.
it, I know.
They survive for a reason, a lot of the classic stories, because they talk to or speak to a part of humanity that has always been there. And so you find how that hits where we are now, I think is really important. I think that's what's really cool about classics. I mean, I could talk about Shakespeare for
I could
80
talk
years.
about Greek. I could talk about Greek literature. Because I quoted the Shakespeare line to you one time. I'll never forget. I'm like, haha, I know it. You did the whole scene almost like, never with a theater friend. No. No, but I'm actually, for like my reading, and I love history. And I was just reading a lot of like deep history in the 50s and 60s. Wow, shocker. The stuff we're dealing with now is the stuff we were dealing with then.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
And we made a little progress, but it's always, I think, as a society, we go 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
I can take you back to, you made a mention to comic books earlier. I find it funny because stuff that was released in like 1979, 1982, you can read a comic that deals with like racial injustice, or there's like all of these societal issues are explored. The dangers of pollution, all of this stuff. And it's weird that now when something explores that, people get weird and uncomfortable and decide that it's being all preachy. And I'm like, dude, when you were like 8 and you read that, you didn't think that was the
I was
case.
just reading I'm really deep diving Marvel in the 60s, and I'm reading Captain America, and he's all depressed because he doesn't fit in. Mm-hmm. He's a man out of time. Well, one of the things is MODOK is spreading hate on a college campus, and he's like turning people against each other. And at the end it goes, well, when we divide the country, we open the door to MODOK taking over. I'm like, wow, this doesn't sound familiar. I'm glad it's a comic book.
If only it were MODOK
That one I've been really,
that had taken over.
I've really been influenced a lot by Gil Scott-Heron now, I think is great. He's not a comic book writer, obviously, but they get it from the Times. But what's your background sort of like in sort of reading? For anything influence you? Austin,
let's see. Comics,
anything.
definitely. Comics, definitely.
Well, you're a cool person, definitely. Then.
Yeah, I would say my biggest influence as far as performance goes is probably, and this is going to be a shocker to a lot of people, is you're making a shocked.
I'm getting ready to be shocked.
Okay, good. So my biggest influence for performing is actually WWE. Yeah, and
you pushed the wrong button with me because I preach wrestling. It's like
okay, yeah.
It's like I call it. Okay, you're both gonna look at me like I'm nuts, but I preach it as like a sort of an art form like jazz. It's an athletic art because you have to go in there. Now it's staged, okay, a little, but you have to read the crowd. You have to know your opponent. You have to you're trying to give the best show possible.
Right.
So it's all theater with getting like thrown to a table.
It's like, again, it's improvised. A lot, like they might have spots that they want to hit. Gonna do a backflip and I need you to be down there to catch me, right? Those are kind of basic things. But at the end of the day, they're improvising a new match every time.
And you're doing also angles where you're trying to draw heat, and that's why I think Andy Kaufman.
They're working their characters.
If you're a heel, that's gonna be the best feeling in the world. I get to piss people off.
Like wrestling, everything is in service of the character. Your backstage promo is in service of your character. The match you do is in service of the character. When you go out and the way you interact with a crowd, like a fan out on the guardrails outside of the arena, that is in service of your character, right? And so that's one of the things I take away from wrestling and bring that into my improv and to my scripted work, is that everything you do is in service of this character or this piece or this story that we're trying to tell, down to the way you walk in, to the way you move your fingers, like all of that is in service of your character. And
someone who gets it, I love it. That's awesome. I think it's awesome myself. These two are like, well, I don't know.
That's really cool.
I learned something new today.
Well, I think everybody, and if you're in the arts you have to immerse yourself. You just have to. I mean, you got to act like a band person. You act like a rock star while you're there, and then you go home and feed your cat. I don't know. I mean, even Rick Nielsen was saying that once. He was saying they were talking about the tour and this and that. He goes, yeah, well, then I go home and I still have to empty the garbage, so.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do the rest of your life is this mundane kind of routine work, when you go on stage to perform, you really should perform. Like, give it everything.
Right. That's the nature
and
of
focus on every little piece of it, because there's always something you can fine tune to make it a little bit better.
Right.
That's actually one of the great things about the community theater in Rochester, and we have so much of it. We have so much arts in Rochester for a city of our size. But the idea of the community theater, I mean, like, it's great to go see. I love going to see shows, Broadway on down to wherever, into Stratford in Canada or Jiva or Blackfriars, whatever. But like, the idea of a show that's happening like 3 to 6 times is really powerful. Like, in the past, we've done single weekends a lot out of theatrical, financial necessity and various other things, and limitations of space. And so if you're seeing people and you guys are doing this thing that you really is important and you believe in and you worked for weeks and weeks to achieve, and you get 3 shots at it, it really has, I think, a different feeling to it than I know I'm doing this 80 times, right?
Yeah.
I mean, actors can drop into moments and make every day new, but the reality is, you're still looking at it as this idea of, this is all I've got right now. At least that's how I feel not being on the stage during those.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, when you're watching, like, it go on, you get, like, little butterflies in the stomach, though, about, okay, we're doing this.
I watched through a crack in the door.
I see you, like,
covering your eyes with your hands.
one time.
Because we have now lost our, one of our, well, he can lose him. We know where he is. He's in Florida. He's kind of lost. Because Anthony, who had been filming things forever, he's actually the beginning of DVC, one of the first 2 DVC members, is no longer, local. I just, was like, I could find someone else to record the show, but like, at this point, I don't know, I know the show better than anyone's gonna know it that's gonna do that, and I'm sitting there, and we're at the point where the show is opening, so I've kind of done, so that's forced me to go from beyond the crack in the door, because, at Muck, you've got that space, you go out into the lobby area, and then you walk out to that doorway, and it's really, the sound is great from that spot, and you can actually see almost all of the stage, too.
You can lurk menacingly the whole time. If you look behind you into the corner and see Mario's head in the door, like, he's always there.
Yeah. I see 85% of all of the shows, depending on whether there's some kind of minor crisis.
I think we've covered mostly everything about it. I mean, you have to go see this. It's going to be great, and I have my tickets, so sell it out. But I want to talk about one thing about it. We talked about, like, stage things. I volunteered for Closer, of course, the SABCIV.
Yeah,
but the one thing we had, and I want to talk a little about some of the effects and, like, mishaps can go on, because there was the one scene where there's, like, a thing where we're supposed to line it up. It was supposed to reflect off the wall, and it never went right. Like, literally, one show, and I remember Dave Henderson going, yeah, finally! But it never would line up, and you just have to, I know you just have to keep going, but like, say that little mask or the cube fell or something, you just have to improvise, or...
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have Christina Chomiak has been running our boards for quite a while, and it knows the shows well and is very reliable. But I mean, there's always an element of human error. First of all, just like a person on a stage can forget a line, a cue can come a second late. And then also, no matter what, despite the best efforts of the person that is doing the tech, anything can happen. There's a thing called the internet that can stop working. There's a light bulb can just blow. Like, I mean, you could do the best you could possibly do it, and technology is going to say nope.
Right.
So, and as being off stage, I do panic. I sit there. If it's 1 second, I go, "Where's the key? Where's the music? Where's the music? Why is that light not coming up?" And usually it's coming up. It's just in my brain. It's not coming up quick enough. But I don't know. On stage, obviously, it's a whole different...
It's a weird amount of trust. You just have to trust that eventually it will come. Like, and that's why I think our ensemble and working together as much as we do is so important, because you trust that someone's going to do it. Someone is going to know what to do. Someone's going to come out that door. Like,
I mean, by the end of the show, we all know it pretty well, so we can cover for each other when things happen.
I have a weird thing about when I see food, like, so I always think I would spill it, like somebody will step on it and fall on it. But like in terms of that, it was just Halloween season, and I'm thinking, like, one of the fun things about Dark Shadows is they filmed them live. You would constantly, you see mics in the way, or like somebody would be walking walking. I walked 1,000 miles. It just felt like 1,000 miles the way I walked. Stuff like that. Or like Barnabas is threatening and everything. And it's like, now I will go and come back. And it's just fun, though.
Right, to try to make that makes every show different. Like, it's live theater.
Yeah.
If you wanted to see the show the exact same way every time, then you want to watch a movie. Last time we very specifically did that when we had the 2 different weeks of Hedda Gabler with characters switching roles. So out of that, the show obviously was a lot different. But even out of the context of a different person playing the character, you still had a different show from week to week and from show to show.
That messed my OCD up because I'm looking. Wait a second. Last week?
Man, if you see opening night of a show and closing night of a show, you are probably...
I have to say it. I love MJ, but you're a much better dancer.
No. That can't be real.
Well, there was dancing ahead again?
I don't think so.
The little jig.
Oh, my God, Tessman.
Yes.
Okay. That was intentionally bad dancing. I just want to throw out there.
That's true. There was research put into theirs, and I was just
Alexus could not lower the mask enough to be vulnerable enough to do bad dancing in that moment.
My inner John Waters loved it then. How about that? But I think we have to, this has always been a pleasure to have you on. I'm looking forward to it. Please know, the way it's going out, no blizzard on the 22nd for us, please. I've had these happen at your shows. But can you just give all the good details, because it's better to leave it to you because we'll screw it up.
Sure. So, as flies to wanton boys in All the Devil's Tale, also a Shakespeare quote, the first part anyway. Do you know where that's from?
No, you got me on that one.
As flies to wanton boys are we to the gods. They kill us for sport. What play?
I don't know.
That's
you got me.
King Lear, my friend.
Oh.
All right. So,
I feel shame.
The third part also named after a Shakespeare play. Okay. Shakespeare quote. We open Friday, the 14th. We have a show Friday and Saturday, 14th, 15th at 7:30. We have our only matinee Sunday the 16th at 2. The following week, we have a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday show. That's the 20th through the 22nd. Those are all at 7:30. All of these shows are at Muck. All of these shows are available to the public in it's pay what you can.
Pay what you can.
You pay what you can. Like, seriously, you can the idea is to have the shows open available. We made this decision at the end of last year. We did the same thing for Hedda, and so just based on a lot of issues, political and economically, that would be sort of our contribution to making theater available to the world and the messages of theater available to the world. And so far that's been working out pretty well for us. What else do I need to say about the show? I don't know. You should see it. It's actually, I know I said it's about cosmic horrors, and I know if you're thinking about Lovecraft at all, you're thinking, Lovecraft is not funny, but I have to tell you that there was a lot of comedy in the first show, and there's a lot of comedy in this show, and some of that comes from, I hope, a witty script that Rath has put together, but I also have really funny actors in this production who make well-rounded, unique, interesting, fun characters, and that adds a comedy and a lightness and an excitingness. And also, if it isn't that way, then what good would it be when their world crumbles around them and they fall to inevitable
You always have
madness?
to laugh at the end, laugh in the face of doom. That's always the best.
If it's not funny, it's just sad.
Yeah.
Man, I think that sums up life in a lot of ways. And thanks a lot for being on. We're going to end. We're just going to play some suitable spooky music because I think it fits.
Excellent.
Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.